Hey booktube, Meg again. So I was actually officially tagged, first time ever, for one of these videos. Quaint and Curious Volumes tagged me in the Isaac Newton tag. It's an original tag from Reading Ideas. I will tag both channels down at the bottom so that you guys can go check out their videos, give them some love. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So the first prompt is adopted or sent away or abandoned. So a book with a character that is adopted, sent away, or abandoned. At first I was going to choose Anne of Green Gables, but then I remembered this book from my childhood. Oops, my little... it's called Behind the Attic Wall. It's by Sylvia Cassidy. I've had this since I was a little girl. Let's see if it has the... Yeah, 1997. My aunt and uncle bought this for me for Christmas one year, and I love it. I can't ever get it away. I don't have a whole lot of my childhood books. We didn't have like a lot of money when I was growing up, and so you took your books to half price books, or my mom had garage sales every year. You sold them, you got more money, you got more books. So I'm kind of kicking myself now for like some of the books that I sold in the past. There are a few that I've like rebought and everything, but anyway, I'm totally going off on a tangent, digressing. So this book is about this girl, Maggie, who is basically kind of abandoned. She's, gone from like boarding school to boarding school. I believe her parents are dead. It has been a minute since I've read this, so I do apologize. I do believe her parents are actually dead and not just gone or, neglectful, because she has to go live with her great aunts. And so she goes out into this house way out in the middle of nowhere. This nice big house, but she can't like touch anything or like play with anything. Like her great aunts are very strict. No fun allowed, basically. And she hears voices coming from behind one of the walls in the attic. And so she discovers these dolls, these two dolls here, and then a little porcelain dog. And they like come to life for her. And so throughout the book, you're kind of wondering, are the dolls really coming to life and talking to her, or is this a little girl's way of dealing with being abandoned and alone and bored? So, but it's a really, really, really good book. It's probably due for a reread, considering I can't remember some of the finer points to it, but it's definitely a favorite from like way back when. So the next prompt is use or measurement of time, a book where time is a crucial element. So again, my first initial thought was to just say The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, but then I remembered Island in the Sea of Time by S.M. Sterling. This book is really, really good. I'm actually getting ready to read the second. I finally found it at Half Price Books. It was in the clearance section. It was like one of those like treasure finds. I wasn't really like looking for it. I mean, it was, on my list of like things to buy, but I have a massive list of things to buy. So I didn't like go in looking for it, but I found it in the clearance section. I was really excited. Anyway, so I'm hoping to read that within like the next like year or next like month or so, sometime this year. So, in this story, the entire island of Nantucket is displaced in time. They go back to the year 1250 BC. And I apologize. My husband is bringing my son in from being outside, and so he's not happy about that. So if you hear a bunch of crying in the background, that's what that is. So I do apologize. Life with a toddler. Yay. Okay, sorry, toddler tantrums in the background. So anyway, so the whole town, it's got a huge cast. The whole town is taken back in time, and you don't really know like the why or when, or not what the when, but the why or how or whatever of the time travel. At least in this book, you don't find out. I don't know about the second book, but it's also not like hugely important. It's more important of like, how are they gonna survive? Like, there's no, you know, way to like get medicines from the outside world. There's no way to get any like modern day convenience. And so these people have to find like whole new ways, old ways, kind of go back to like old fashioned ways of doing everything. And so it becomes very clear that they are sooner or later going to have to trade with certain people. And so there is a part where they go like onto the mainland of North America and attempt to trade with the natives, and that goes about as well as you would think it would go when you have people with different immune systems visiting people that don't have those immune systems, just like it actually went. So they end up traversing different like directions of like the world. Some of them decide to take a ship up and over into like ancient Europe, basically. They like go across like the ocean, and they ended up like making contact over there, and there's a whole new like cast of characters that ends up being over there. Another group goes down to like South America, and that goes swimmingly. That part's a bit crazy, but anyway, it is a really good read. Very interesting, the idea of like, what would a group of people do if they just magically were sent back thousands and thousands of years into the past and had to make do. So the ending leaves it a bit like, kind of like, what's gonna happen, or is this guy gonna really betray them and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to read the second one, but really, really, really good time travel book. Number 3, Test of Strength, book where the character has to pass a test of strength. So I racked my brains for a while with this one, because at first I was trying to think of like physical feats of strength, and I couldn't really think of one that like really stood out to me. And so I started to think about it a little differently. And so I think a feat of strength is being a survivor to something that's really, really horrific. So I chose The Matryoshka Doll by Barbara Fishman Traub. This is a semi-autobiographical book about Barbara's survival of the Holocaust and then life afterwards. You learn a lot about in school, and then a lot of the books that I read about like the World Wars are either the lead up and then the war, and that's about it. Not a lot that I have personally read goes into what happened to the people that were in the camps and had genocide against them and everything, the Jewish people, what they went through afterwards, like reassimilating into society and everything. This book it was really eye-opening. Probably one of my favorite books that I own. It's not easy to find. I don't really ever see it anywhere else. I think I picked this up at a Half Price Books like clearance sale. They like have them, they used to have them regularly here at like the state fairgrounds. One of the warehouses that they would use, they would just bring semis and semis of all these extra Half Price books, clearance books. I haven't done that in several years, since like before COVID. So I don't know if COVID like messed up Half Price Books is like inventory, like maybe they just don't have enough to do those kinds of things anymore. But Yeah, so this is Barbara on the back. If you can find this, I would 100% suggest to pick it up. What these people went through throughout the entire war was bad enough, but then having to pick up the pieces again, the survivors having to pick up the pieces again afterwards, dealing with what they went through, losing family, still trying to search for family because people were split up. You didn't know who went where. And then, like we talk about now about Holocaust denial, and you think, well, back then they couldn't have possibly been Holocaust deniers, but they've been around since the Holocaust. Barbara has to deal with like neighbors that don't understand or don't really believe what she went through, and it's just really crazy. It really opens your eyes to how the suffering did not just magically end after the camps were liberated. So very emotional read, but very, very, very good read. So that was my test of strength one. Number 4, character with a dark side or a temper. A book where a character has a dark side or a temper. So I chose Krampus by Brom. Krampus obviously is kind of like the embodiment of the dark side of like the Christmas mythos, like Santa Claus and everything like that. But this was a really unique look at the lore and the behind the scenes, kind of, I guess you could say, look at who Krampus and Santa Claus really were. It's a fictional book. It's not like it's real or anything. Like Santa Claus is real or anything. But it you'd be surprised who has the dark side or temper in this book. Krampus obviously has a very dark side, but it's a really, really fun read. It's kind of like, it's more like a horror story, but like set at Christmas time. But I adore this book. I think that this might be one of my, like, if not yearly rereads at Christmas, maybe like in every other. Like this was a fun wild ride. If you like graphic violence, if you like horror, that kind of thing, this is the book for you. But yeah, definitely. This almost was my choice for the revenge punishment one. But I think he has, the characters in this have more of a bad side or temper than they would go with the other one. So yeah. Quest destroys personal life. Number 5, quest destroys personal life. A book where the quest is deemed so big the character either chooses to have no personal life or it is destroyed. This is the only book on my list that I don't actually physically own. I just recently read this last month in April. So I will try not to go too into it here because I do have an April wrap-up that I'm going to film and coming up and everything that'll explain it. But I'll put like the cover or whatever somewhere over here so you guys can see it. It's called Way Station by Clifford D. Simak. The character in that book, Enoch, basically has no personal life because of his quest. And it is both a decision, but also partially a requirement for the quest. And it was really bittersweet, I guess. How he chooses to kind of sacrifice that personal life, and he has a long life, so it's a lot of personal time that he is sacrificing for this mission or this quest. But really fantastic sci-fi book. It was the second Simak that I ever read, and it is so good. I will own it someday because it's one of those ones where I liked it so much. I just library rental, but I liked it so much that I'm definitely going to end up buying it and adding it to my personal collection. But that was the first one that came to mind as soon as I read the prompt. So 6, questionable decision. A book where the main character makes a questionable decision. So Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn could basically be entitled Gone Girl and then subtitle Questionable Decisions. The two main characters in this book, I don't think make a good decision throughout the entire thing. But it is like really fantastic. Basically, so Nick and Amy are the two main characters. It's their anniversary and Amy goes missing. And it appears that Nick is possibly responsible for his wife's disappearance. And it's really easy to give away stuff about this book, but they are two of the most horrible people I have ever read about, and I adore them. Like they are like so messed up and so awful that it comes back around to me being like, these are the two most this is the most fantastic couple I've ever read about in my entire life. A lot of people disagree with that, but I really, really love this book. I was surprised that I loved this book so much. I don't even think I knew what to expect when I went into it. I don't think I had any idea what it was going to be about. But I'd seen it on a few people's reviews on like Litsy and stuff, and I was just like, I'll pick it up, and I love it. So yeah, questionable decisions all over the place in this book. So scale change, number 7. Sorry, I'm trying to keep telling you guys the numbers. Scale change, book with an object or place that goes through a scale change. So more so the character goes through a scale change. It's The Witches by Roald Dahl. And if you haven't read this, you really, really should. Scale change, like I said, the main character more goes through a scale change than objects do, but he does have to deal with, like, since he's shrunk down to a mouse, the objects around him are definitely changed in scale. Really, really fantastic book. It's one of those books where you're kind of surprised that it's a children's book. The movie especially, like, you're just like, I watched this as a child, like, but really, 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 really good. Really good book. I'm really excited to like read this. Any Roald Dahl book, really. I'm really excited to read this to my son someday. But yeah, so scale change. The Witches. Okay. Falling or something to do with gravity. Book where something or someone is falling or where gravity plays a part. So this one was a little difficult because I told myself that I was going to stick to fiction books only. The Matryoshka Doll kind of pushes that because, like I said, it's autobiographical, but it is a fictional story that Barbara wrote, just, you know, using her own life as kind of an inspiration. But I almost wanted to go with The Ascent of Gravity for this answer because that's a really amazing book. But like I said, I told myself I would stick with fiction. So I chose The Innocent Mage. It's the Kingmaker, Kingbreaker series. So The Innocent Mage and Awakened Mage. Innocent Mage really is more of like the real answer to this question, but throughout both books, there is kind of a theme of falling or of gravity being a pivotal role. The main thing that happens between these two books is very much so based on falling and gravity. The like really horrible thing that happens in between these two books that kicks off everything that happens in the second book. It's I don't want to give away too much. It's so hard to like talk about these books without like spoilers. So Asher is just this regular, like, fishmonger's kid, and he befriends Gar, the prince of this world. And in this world, the royal family are all able to do magic. And it's really important that they're able to do magic because, especially the king, he keeps this, like, boundary between this kingdom, this good part of the world, and the entire rest of the world, which is ruled by evil. And Gar, the prince, has not inherited the magical powers of his father, and that's a very big deal. And so he kind of has to find his own place in the world. And so him and Asher kind of become really good friends because Asher has a mouth on him and doesn't talk to the prince the way that everyone else does. And so the prince values that. And so he goes to be, like, kind of the prince's, like, right-hand man. And something terrible happens. And Gar has to be more than what he is. Yeah. So there are multiple falls in these books for multiple characters. So that was my choice for falling / gravity. So hopefully I didn't give away too much. Like I said, it's hard to be completely spoiler free with some of these. Number 9, Red Herring, False Trail, Use of Codes. A book with a red herring, a false trail, or a quest, or the use of codes. So I chose 3 Bags Full, a sheep detective story. And this is a really, 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 really unique way of telling a mystery story that I really, really enjoyed. Basically, this sheep farmer dies, gets killed, and the story is told from this perspective of all of the herd of sheep that he has. And so all their little, like, unique characteristics and everything come into play. I really enjoy books that are told from, like, an animal point of view, and lots of times those are, like, you know, kind of whimsical, like, almost childlike stories, and this was definitely different than that. So the sheep can only do so much because they're kind of stuck on the farm, and so they kind of have to rely on, like, the clues that are there, and then the people that kind of come in and out of their farmyard that, like, to check on them or whatever. But just like any mystery, it has plenty of false leads, red herrings. I don't know if you could consider the fact that they're sheep and they're talking to each other and the humans can't understand them as a use of codes, but the false trails, I think, definitely fits this book. So if you're interested at all, if you're a mystery reader, or even if you're not, this is a really, really good book to pick up. Revenge, Punishment, a book with an element of revenge or punishment. So I chose The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. Again, it's really easy to give away too much about this story. Basically, this group of friends are systematically dying in very strange ways, and it doesn't become clear until towards the end how or why. But it's really good. It's a really good horror. Stephen Graham Jones is native. Let's see, it doesn't tell me what tribe he's a part of, but he is indigenous, and so there are parts of the story that take place on like the reservations and everything. And you can really see the like cultural parts of this. It was a really, really good read. But it's violent, bloody, but really good. Really, really good. And again, I'm not going to tell you how it's based on revenge or punishment, but it is. So, rise and fall. Book with a rise in status, followed by a catastrophic fall. Whoops. Oh, I'm back to wrong. I had to think about this one quite a bit. There were a couple. This one actually almost was the Kingmaker Kingbreaker duology, but this one has there's multiple reasons this one fits the prompt. So I chose the graphic novel series Attack on Titan. I'm going to butcher this. Hajime Isayama. I do not know how to pronounce Japanese or Asian, like, I don't know how to pronounce those names. Anyway, the rise and fall of the characters, of the kingdoms, everything in this book, there, again, I'm trying not to spoil things. So there's a point where, you know, you think like, okay, here we go. This is what we've been waiting for this entire time. This is like, let's go. We're getting to that peak, that rise. And then it's like there's just a monkey wrench thrown into everything. And it's a really, really good story. But this was both my favorite manga and anime for a long time. I like this. I don't know if you can see the shirt. The shirt is Attack on Titan. I did not plan this, by the way. This just happened to be what I pulled out this morning. Huge fan. I told everyone that would listen to me how amazing the manga and the anime were, and I still love the first chunk of this. So it had a rise to the top of my list of anime and manga. And then towards the end, it just, everything that I felt the author like built up to, they just smashed to pieces and just gave up on like a lot of things. And it just turned into one of the biggest letdowns of ever in my entire ever. So I still am very bitter about this because of what I felt like it was growing to be, and then what we got and what I think we should have gotten. There are plenty of people that will argue with me and plenty of people that do like the ending and that Aaron is their homeboy and everything, and I hate him. I hate him so much. I really felt like character sabotage. Like the person that Aaron was and you were led to believe throughout like the entire thing, it's like the author decided like, no, you know what, never mind. All of this character development that I've done throughout this entire thing for this person, we're gonna just turn him into someone else now. And it to me felt very abrupt, and it was very upsetting. So it's a catastrophic fall for multiple reasons. So number 12, a genius. Which writer or character is a genius to you? I went back and forth between this person and another author that I really, really adore and respect and love, and but I ended up going with Robert Jordan. The Wheel of Time is my favorite book series ever, let alone like fantasy series. They're my favorite books to ever exist. I know that there are other people that don't like them or can't get through them because there is a big slog in the middle, there's like a lot of books, and this is probably one of the smaller ones of the, I guess it's tall. The paperback is like the one that's like only this big. It's a pretty big book. But the world building, the character development, the magic systems, everything that went into these from beginning to end. And unfortunately, Robert Jordan didn't get to finish them. He passed away before he could finish the books, and so Brandon Sanderson stepped in and finished. And I'm really glad he did, because I can't imagine anyone else finishing Jordan's work. So I guess there's two geniuses for you. 2 for 1. I haven't read any other works by Brandon Sanderson. They are on my TBR. Do not worry, I will get to them. Because I loved the way he rounded this out so much. Mad props to him, because I don't know how anyone could walk into this and do as good a job without, you can sort of see a change over, like, from Robert Jordan's work to Brandon Sanderson's work, but it is so extremely subtle, and Jordan's voice still shines through with Sanderson's help all the way to the very end. I hate the Amazon TV show. I think that they have completely missed the mark on the spirit, because I can acknowledge not making like a complete remake of something. There are plenty of books to movies, books to film or whatever, that I think are done pretty well. Sure, there's always something that you're like, well, I wish they would have added this, or I wish they wouldn't have changed that. But the way that Amazon completely butchered The Wheel of Time is absolutely inexcusable. And I will follow up with, Amazon has made my favorite TV show ever, the Fallout TV show. So they can do things correctly. They just chose not to, I guess. Anyway, but pure genius. I love Tolkien. I love these books more than I love the Tolkien Lord of the Rings. These are fantastic. I love my boys. I would protect them with my life. Matt, Perrin, and Rand, some of the best characters ever. A lot of people will talk about how the books are kind of sexist, and I can see, like, you know, there are certain things where it's like, you know, the characters are like, oh, women, and the women are like, oh, men. But like, that happens in real life, and that happens in like very liberal groups. Like, I have plenty of friends that aren't like your typical like sexist whatever, and both groups will complain about each other. Like, I don't know. So I don't think that that's a huge huge mark off. And I do think that there are very strong characters, both male and female, and not a lot of male authors do a very good job of that. So I think Robert Jordan did an amazing job. So yeah, that's the end of this tag. I'm still really awkward about feeling like it's okay for me to tag other people. I don't know, maybe like once I get a little bit more into, I don't know, I just feel weird about like, there are people that I could think of, but I just feel weird about like tagging strangers, you know? So maybe once I get to know a few more people a little better and I feel like I can tag them, then I'll start doing tags. But if you would like to do the Isaac Newton tag, feel free. You can make a response video, or you can always just write your answers in the comments, or if you just have an answer to one of these prompts, you can write your answer in the comment. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good one.